now begin the special called meeting of the Board of Commissioners on May 29th at 4 p.m. Call to order by the clerk, Linda Bingham, please.
Chairman Morgan.
Here.
Vice Chairman Bailey.
Here.
Commissioner McClendon.
Here.
Commissioner Chance.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Fuller.
Here.
Commissioner Hicks.
Here.
Thank you. I'll now ask for approval of the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed?
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, so our business session item is certify the estimated rollback rate. We have Hubert Sparks, our Chief Tax Assessor, to present this item for us.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity again to come before you. I want to talk about something, and I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible, but I want you to understand everything. So if you have questions at the end, I'll be available to answer. Estimated rollback rate is something that you've never done before. Certainly you've did some kind of rollback rate in the past. I want to be clear about that when you set your millage rate. But at this time of year, estimating a rollback rate has never been part of the equation. So let me read a little information that came from ACCG and the Georgia Municipal Association, and hopefully this will help explain it. We'll go over some examples. The estimated rollback rate is a new concept that became law in 2025. It was created by House Bill 581 and revised by House Bill 92. The estimated rollback rate is designed to provide local governments with more flexibility and accurately previewing that year's millage rate to the property owner on the annual notice of assessment. Each taxing authority must certify this rate by a formal vote and provide the rate to the County Board of Assessors and Tax Commissioner no less than 15 days prior to the postmark of the annual notice of assessment. Now for this year, we're planning on sending out notices around June 19th, 20th. That's a tentative date still. That means that deadline to get that certified is going to be June 4th. And so that's what I want to talk about here today. Each one of you should have some information in front of you, which are 3 different assessment notice examples. And so the way this affects things is through what those assessment notices may look like. So if you'll look at those right quick with me, example number 1, and let's specifically look at Part C on example number 1 that you have. If a local government fails to certify and provide an estimated rollback rate by the deadline, the annual notice of assessment for that specific jurisdiction will state the previous year's millage rate and provide an estimate of taxes owed. And that's similar to what the assessment notice looked like last year. That's example number 1. Example number 2, by looking at Part C, you'll see that if the estimated rollback rate is certified by the deadline, the annual notice of assessment will not include the estimate of taxes owed, but will include the estimated rollback rate. So you can see the differences between example 1 and example 2. Example number 3 is the one that we hope we don't see this year. That's what I call the hybrid. And this is what the annual notice of assessment will look like if some taxing authorities certify an estimated rollback rate and some do not. Now you, as the Board of Commissioners, set a millage rate for the county maintenance and operations, which goes to every parcel in Carroll County. Some of those parcels are included in a city, and some of those are included or have a taxing authority that may be a school system that does not include every parcel in the county. Yours do. I will tell you that I have received estimated rollback certifications from other taxing authorities, and those authorities have certified last year's millage rate. All right? So here's something that I want you all to know that's very important. If you certify an estimated rollback rate and you later set a millage rate higher than that estimated rollback rate published, there will be a disclaimer added to the tax bill alerting the property owner the estimated rollback rate was exceeded. So if you set a rollback rate today, you need to make sure that you're not going to exceed that amount when you set your official millage rate later on. Now, I will also tell you that if you look at last year's millage rates, I think you have a countywide maintenance and operations that's one number for all the taxing jurisdictions with an exception of the city of Carrollton and the city of Bremen. Those numbers are different, and I think that may have something to do with fire service.
No, we don't have that chart that you sent me yesterday. We do have it on here in the resolution, but we don't have that chart you sent me.
Okay, so what you have on your resolution are, I think, are last year's millage rates that were the final millage rates that were approved. I have spoken with Elisa Searcy, the finance director. We have talked about preliminary digest numbers, and I think we feel confident enough that your millage rate will not exceed last year's millage rate. It may be lower than that, it may be the same, but it will not exceed that. So, anybody have any questions, or do you feel confident enough in voting or approving an estimated rollback rate?
Linda, is it possible to pull up that sheet of paper that lists like all the cities?
Was that in his email?
I'm pretty certain it was.
All I had in there was the 3 documents, the 3 different scenarios.
Let me pull that up because I think
there was a second email.
Hang on.
Hubert, while she's looking for that, so you said you've talked to all the cities and you've received something back from them?
I have spoken, if either me or Tax Commissioner Vicki Bearden have spoken to all of the cities and the school districts, and it is my understanding from every one of them that they will all certify an estimated rollback rate.
Okay.
Some of them we have already received back. They have already approved and certified an estimated rollback rate.
And so for clarification, if we certify last year's millage rate today, then essentially as long as we don't raise the millage rate, then we understand there will be no advertisement that we are technically raising taxes, but we can take that number or we can even choose to roll it back later at the August meeting when we actually set the millage rate.
There you go.
You may still have to go through the advertising process if you choose not to do a full rollback. If you only did a partial rollback, none of that will change, but there will not be an excerpt in the tax bill saying that you exceeded the estimated rollback rate that you set today if you approve last year's millage rate.
And the municipalities and/or the school system that you have spoken with, I don't know what entities those are, but the ones that you have, they have set their estimated rollback rate to their prior year's millage rate as well, correct?
That is
The
correct.
ones that you've spoken with.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's it. So I think you can see in front of you and what's on the screen is the 2024 millage rates. You can see the county maintenance and operation portion was 6.363. It's the same for all other taxing jurisdictions except for the city of Carrollton. That county maintenance and operations for the city of Carrollton was 5.376. And then the city of Bremen, that county maintenance and operation millage was 5.052.
And that is because they provide fire, so they get a rollback. So I want to make sure you understand, we're going to actually approve 3 of these millage rates. We're not actually approving Carrollton's, we're not actually approving Bremen's, we're approving our portion of it.
Correct.
So if y'all don't have any other further questions for Hubert, I'll look for a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented to you.
We'll make a motion to approve the resolution. It's inclusive to certify the estimated rollback rate equivalent to the prior year's rate for unincorporated Carroll County for the M&O portion, including the portion for the city of Carrollton and the city of Bremen that will have differing millage rates.
Second.
Okay, and since I have it handy right here, the clarification would be that Carroll County would be 6.3630, and the Carrollton is 53760 that you just said, and Bremen is 5.0520. Okay, do we have any further discussion, any further questions? Well, seeing and hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed?
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, Okay, I'll look for a motion and a second to adjourn the special called meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting's adjourned, and now we'll move into the actual work session for our meeting on Tuesday night, so you can switch to that agenda. Okay. So we have the first thing is liability and risk management insurance proposal. We discussed this on Tuesday morning, and it's actually, we have to do a formal adoption, so we'll do that on Tuesday night. The second thing is 10.2. It is the jail HVAC units and an emergency replacement, and we have Major Shane Taylor here from the Sheriff's Office to discuss this item for us.
Appreciate y'all having me. So recently, one of our, there's 3 units on the jail, 50-ton, 3 50-ton units on the jail that are original to the building. So they're over 25 years old. We had a major problem with one of them the other day where the actual large fan within the unit come out of where it seats and fell down from the vibration and years of work. It has been repaired, but I would not say it's repaired to manufacturer standards, but it is working as to today. It may last, it may quit here while we're talking, and it may last a year, I don't know. We have been doing a lot of work on these over the years anyhow. Pack 2 right now. So there's 3 units, Pack 1, Pack 2, Pack 3. Pack 1, we put newer compressors on it last year. They're about 6,000 a piece. There's 3 compressors on each pack. Pack 2, we put new compressors on it 2 years ago. And as of today, only one of those 3 is working. And I think a lot of that is the compressors are not designed for a 25-year-old unit. So it's not... They're just not working good together, and they're not lasting. And Pack 3, like I said, is the one that's that we just have had the major breakdown with it, but it is up currently. We are contracted right now for our maintenance and services with the MCOR services. For a long time, we were with Merrill and Associates. They always did good work on new installs, but towards the end, some of the service and response was left lacking, and we looked around and went with MCOR. I was asked about warranty issues. From what I can see, these units come with a 1-year warranty, but like with our contracted service with the MCOR, any type of electrical issue, any type of maintenance, filter changes, all that's included in what we already pay with the contract. MCOR quoted a safety railing. They've been on site for the last few years, so they know what's there. Per OSHA, you got to have one up there because these, and I did have a picture because it did get brought up if y'all want to pass that around, but as you see, these units go straight to the edge of the building. The 3 units do. So Merrill, even though they didn't put that in there, once they got out there, that might be something that we're going to get hit with anyway. The other difference is the systems. The MCOR's looking at the train systems, and Merrill is quoting carrier systems. And basically, the research I looked at is the train's going to be a more reliable, durable unit, whereas the carrier, they say, is more energy efficient. So that's the biggest differences on them. And I think y'all have both quotes. Or do y'all?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for me?
Major, we spoke a little bit earlier. Thank you for taking my call. My only question, just because of the significant amount of money that it is, trying to possibly looking at what an extended warranty would cover. I'm glad to know that you've got something already in place that would handle, I guess, the maintenance, and a lot of times that goes a long ways not having issues, but there's so many electronics, I guess, and everything that we buy these days. That's just a massive amount of money to have a 1-year warranty. And I'm not saying it would or wouldn't make sense, but it would depend on what amount and what they were willing to cover. So that would be my only additional question or ask of information is just to compare what that would look like.
Yes, sir. I don't have that information now. I do know, like I said, with our contract with EMCOR, they do cover all electrical. The only things they don't cover are the compressors, and then just some type of major part of the unit. But any of the electrical components, any of that is covered under our contract with them.
Okay.
Major, do you have any idea, I didn't think to ask you a while ago, but as far as that crane cost, what it would be if you just didn't do, if you only done one unit versus having to come back and do them later, do you have any idea what that would cost us?
I didn't break it down, but if you look, EMCOR did quote the cost of one and the cost of three. And to put one up and have that crane out was going to be $245,395. To put all three up with the crane out is $562,274, and then the additional $26,000 for the safety railing. That safety railing will be permanent. It will stay up there once it's in place.
Okay.
So if there's no further questions, are y'all good with putting this on the consent agenda with, I believe you're making the recommendation for MCOR and making the recommendation to do all three at the same time and the recommendation to go ahead and put that safety rail up permanently?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm good with that if Major Taylor can just get some information on the extended warranty by Tuesday, and if it's something that looks like what we want to add, we can add it in, and if it doesn't, then we'll just leave the consent as is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Y'all good? Okay, great. Thanks, Shane. Okay, I made a mistake. I pushed the wrong tab at the top here, so we're going to skip back to the actual items on the work session. I kind of skipped ahead to the business items. So right now, we're going to go back and do the financial recap. I know some of you in the audience are thinking you were going to know when you're going to show up. But right now, so we're going to have Alicia Searcy do our financial recap. Then we'll go into the update for the recreation facility lighting and design. Then we'll go to the review of the business session items. So I apologize for hitting the wrong tab.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We have the April 25 financials in front of us this afternoon. Our revenue at the end of April was $74,797,865. That leaves us about $6,856,529 to get to our budgeted revenue number. I think, based on my projections, that we should easily make the projected revenue. In fact, I think we will exceed the revenue slightly. So it's going to end up a good year as far as our revenue is concerned. Our expenditures are at $64,243,621. That leaves us $410,000 in expenditures to meet the budget by the end of the year. Again, with forecasting, I believe that we will come in under budget about $2.5 million to $3 million on our expenditures. Some of that is savings in salaries where we've had some open positions that took a little bit of time to fill, and then some of it's just savings in other expense lines that we thought would come in higher than they have. Our cash in the general fund is $52,925,946. That's down from last year by about $4 million, and still over the 2023 balance of $50,651,000, so about $2 million more than we had 2 years ago. We did have that influx of ARPA money last year, which pushed our cash balances higher. On the 13 splost, we didn't have any expenditures this month other than through our LMIG money. And we did receive interest of about $33,000 in that splost. In the 21 splost, we had expenditures on projects of $2,633,559, and we had payments to cities of $998,725, with a total revenue, including interest and receipts, of $2,680,000. We spent $2,383,467 on the admin building. That included 2 payments to Balfour Beatty. Those were the 2 largest payments. And then we had some expenditures for public works for gravel, and we paid for the Halm roller in the equipment line. And that was the majority of our expenditures in the splost. Any questions on that?
On our county debt, you think we're gonna be able to pay some toward that? I know we've,
I would not recommend doing that this year. We've got some pretty big expenditures, as you just heard, the HVAC at the sheriff's office. We've also got some cameras that we need to buy to go in the jail, which is about the same amount of money, close to $600,000. And I think that we would like to do some retention payouts to the employees. We've also committed money to buy compactors, and so I think most of any extra money would be spent on that, unless we would prefer not to spend that money and pay down debt.
or we can still pay down debt and use reserves as well.
We could.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what you're thinking. I appreciate you sharing that.
Do you want me to go ahead and go through the budget resolution and the budget amendment, or you want me to come back for
No,
that?
I think if y'all can, since I've already skipped ahead and skipped back, I think we can, y'all caught up with me, so we'll go ahead and skip again up to the Tuesday night's meeting, so you can go ahead and do that part.
Okay. So the first thing that we have is a budget amendment. This is the advertisement that I would like to run in the Times-Georgian for the 2025 budget amendment. And the general fund budget amendment we had enough savings in most of the departments in their departmental expenses to pay out retention amounts. The only 2 departments, which are our largest 2 departments, are the Sheriff's Office and Fire Department, where we would need to increase their budget to cover retention payments. So in this budget amendment, I have proposed an increase of $1,753,000 in revenue. $176,000 of that would come from the fund balance. The retention amount is about $2,050,000, and most of that would be paid just from departmental savings. We also will be taking $125,000 out of contingency to use for that, and $50,000 out of damage settlements, another $15,000 or $21,000 out of risk management, insurance, and unemployment, and then we're going to take $25,000 out of building repair and maintenance. We're coming in pretty well on that, and another $10,000 out of miscellaneous for general administration. And then I have the last year's debt payment. I have to do a budget amendment for it where we paid it out of $500,000 and then a $9,000 adjustment to the lease and to the interest expense. We have the $400,000 in there for the compactor equipment purchases, and we have $590,000 in for sheriff's facilities and renovations, and that would be that camera system to go in at the jail. Now, I will probably end up moving that. I need, out of respect to Chief Robinson, I didn't want to contact him, so when he gets back to work, we'll determine whether that needs to go into the capital projects fund. I suspect that it probably will, since we'll have to get an RFP done on that and get it out for bid. So that is what's inclusive in the budget amendment for the general fund. We have some small amendments to our grant fund to cover a grant that we got for the fire department to buy some uniforms and supplies with. We have some interest income for the clerks co-op to cover some additional contractual service and some equipment that was purchased from that. We have $145,000 in the opioid settlement fund that we used in the judicial and public safety areas. We have a small adjustment of $10,000 to hotel motel where we collected a little bit more than we anticipated there, and we'll have to pay out those amounts to the convention center and Chamber of Commerce. We'll have an amendment to the American Rescue Plan Fund of $6,772,000, and that includes the judicial ARPA grant and the funds that we will use out of fund balance out of ARPA for the payments in the judicial center, the payments for the mental health care at the jail, and then the $2.2 million that we're funding, helping Carroll County Water Authority with that North Carroll water project that they're wrapping up hopefully by the end of this year. Then we've got the juvenile court superior supervision fee of $8,500 that goes to help with some of the expenses in the juvenile court. Street lighting fund, we increased by $3,500 to cover additional revenue and expenses there. And solid waste, I'm proposing that we move the $840,915 from the solid waste fund to the capital projects fund. That is money that we received from the insurance company to pay for the transfer station collapse. And we won't be building that building until next year, so I'd like to get that money out of the solid waste fund and move it into capital projects so we can spend it out of there. So that's everything on the budget amendment.
I'm fine with everything there. I'd still like to see us do something toward the debt. Typically, every year we've had to fluctuate what we've did, but some years we've done a third back to our employees, a third for capital projects, and maybe a third back in our reserves. Our reserves are where they need to be. They're very healthy. So we had kind of, the last year or two, looked at trying to pay down some of the debt, even if it's $100,000 out of reserves. I would just like for us to keep that momentum of something every year, that we keep that in our mind to do as well. So I'm not trying to touch anything else you've done, but that would just be something I'd like to see us do. And we take it out of reserve so it doesn't adjust anything that you've done and how you've pulled from different accounts and what you've prepared.
Yeah, I could just use of fund balance if all the commissioners are in support of doing that.
I think we need more information on that based on what interest we're receiving for it staying in fund balance versus what we might save. So I know you don't have that information handy right this second, but I think we need to know a little bit more before we take money out of fund balance.
Okay.
Alicia, on the solid waste building, you said it was like 841 is what the insurance had paid out, I think?
Yes, 849.15.
Okay. I just know, I saw in some of that insurance information we went over Tuesday, it had like a, what, 1 point, it was like a little over $1 million, and that claim hit. I just was wondering, is that their,
I think that included a little bit of a reserve.
okay,
We're waiting until we get the, once we get the design done, we can RFP the construction. And when we RFP the construction, we'll have an exact dollar amount of what it's going to cost to replace the building. And once we get that, I think we've got some more negotiating to do with the insurance company. I think they're prepared to pay out more money
okay,
if we need it.
gotcha.
But you're correct, that claims report did have $1 million.
Yeah.
Alicia, tell me again how much is in fund balance?
I don't have anything as of May, but on
It was April, I think, wasn't it?
April, we've got 56,239,779.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is our budget resolution. I'll read the budget resolution, and attached to that is the general fund budget for next year. There's also the budget for the special revenue funds. I'll go over those in summary. If you want more detailed information, I'll be glad to go over that with you too. So we have a resolution and ordinance providing for the appropriations and expenditures of funds for the government of Carroll County, Georgia for the county fiscal year 2026, beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026. Providing for the operations of the county departments, boards, agencies, elected offices, and other governmental activities, to provide for the level of personnel authorized for the various departments and agencies, to provide for capital improvements as budgeted for the county, to provide an effective date, and for other purposes. Whereas in compliance with OCGA 36-8-1 and the county's enabling legislation, a revenue estimate for the following year and proposed budget that will govern expenditures of all funds expected to be available to the county for the following year, including expenditures related to capital outlays and public works projects, has been submitted to the Board of Commissioners, and whereas a copy of the proposed budget along with all required public notices has been published, whereas the governing authority held a public hearing on May the 27th, 2025 at 10 a.m., and whereas the proposed budget and recommendations have been presented to the Board of Commissioners, including recommendations for changes in the following positions. There will be a change from a part-time person to a full-time person in the finance, move a full-time maintenance position from general administration to public works, addition of 5 part-time gymnastics instructor positions for recreation. Now, therefore, be it resolved and ordained by the Board of Commissioners of Carroll County, Georgia, as follows. Section 1, pursuant to OCGA 36-81-1, as amended, the sums of money summarized in Exhibit A, attached hereto, and made a part of this resolution and ordinance, shall be and are hereby adopted by the Board of Commissioners as the operating budget and capital budget for the government of Carroll County, Georgia for fiscal year, that should be 2026. Beginning on July 1 of 2025 and ending on June 30th of 2026. Furthermore, the Board of Commissioners hereby adopts the chairman's proposed changes in certain positions, departments, and offices as follows. The change in the part-time position to full-time position for finance, the move of a full-time maintenance position from general administration to public works, and the addition of 5 part-time gymnastics instructors for recreation. Section 2, the appropriations of all funds for all departments and agencies shall be set forth in Exhibit A. Section 3, the fee schedule attached hereto as Exhibit B shall be the fees for each respective department and shall be published on the county's website. Section 4, the funds provided and contracts made therefore for the procurement of supplies, materials, personal property, capital outlay, and public works projects and services